Can you believe it's been 17 years since Chasing Zoey premiered? I can feel myself crawling closer towards death every second. Chasing Zoey premiered all the way back in 2008 as part of season 4 of Zoey 101, just a few months after Hulu was first released. And quite frankly, the passage of time is unacceptable. I've seen some discourse about this episode over the years, and I've seen people say they hate it and people say they love it. I have some pretty fond memories of Chasing Zoey, but I also do not recall it being an Oscar-worthy masterpiece. In fact, I had this episode on in the background when I was doing some planning for a Ned's Declassified video, and it gave me a visceral reaction. I'm pissed. I'm angry. I'm upset. I refuse to believe what I just saw on Paramount Plus is what I watched back in 2008 and enjoyed. So it's definitely time for a rewatch to see just why Zoey 101 has one of the worst series finales I've ever seen in my life. And as always, if you like this content, please be sure to give us a like and maybe even subscribe to the channel. It would help a lot and mean the world. And if you got any other episodes or shows you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. Alright, let's dive in. So the episode starts off with no cold open. We just launch right into that lit theme song for the final time, and then guest star Sean Flynn pops up. Excuse me, but that's a massive spoiler. At this point, Chase hasn't been seen since episode 1 of season 4, and now we know he's coming back, I guess. I would hate to be surprised by that. Zoey tells her friend she's staying at the Chambrulé Hotel in Hawaii all summer long, which is the same name as the hotel Megan stays at in LA in Drake and Josh Go Hollywood.
My dad knows this guy who manages the Chambrulé Hotel on Maui. What's the best hotel in Los Angeles?
Ah, that would be the Chambrulé. It is beautiful hotel.
James, the Chase replacement and Zoey's season 4 boyfriend, says he has to work at his uncle's hardware shop all summer, so he can't go with her to Hawaii. What a damn shame these blue-collared men never get their trips. And then all the kids shock their fingers in a weird torture device that's somehow considered a game. And I know it took all of Dan Schneider's willpower to not have one of those underage teenagers put their toes in that damn thing. Michael's walking his girlfriend Lisa towards a surprise and walks her right into a metal pole. And I'll be honest, she's in multiple episodes across multiple seasons, and I forgot this character existed entirely. He shows her an old classic car, and it's his car. It's his. It's not a gift for her. Why did he walk her over there as if he was revealing a special surprise for her? Turns out Michael's car is a stick shift, which he does not know how to drive. Great idea to learn how to drive a stick shift for the first time on a very old, classic, and most likely expensive car. Meanwhile, Quinn is chilling, surfing the web, and if you actually look closely, you'll see she's on iCarly.com. And she's typing quite a bit. I wonder if she's leaving hate comments. Logan walks over, and Quinn and Logan have been secretly dating for most of season 4, but they haven't let a single one of their friends find out, because both of them are scared of how everyone will react. And since this is the big finale episode, I'm sure that secret is finally gonna come out, and I gotta be honest, I'm pretty excited to see how everyone's gonna react to the news. But they're not ready just yet for everyone to know. So they both agree to take other people as fake dates to prom. Michael tries to drive his new car and instantly crashes it into a tree, might I add, and suddenly an elderly Asian man pops up out of nowhere. He says his name is Mr. Takado and offers to teach him how to drive stick shift, which Michael accepts. And honestly, I'm not one to get butthurt, but the background music when this character is introduced gotta be a little racist, right?
You seem frustrated.
Cut to Zoey, who's also on iCarly.com and also typing quite a bit. Maybe her and Quinn are in an online comment feud or something. The not Chase boyfriend tells Zoey his uncle sold the hardware store so he can go to Hawaii with her for the summer after all. And he then gives her a necklace that says, "I love you." And Zoey's response is,
Seeing chemistry.
Yeah, kind of like that. In fact, I'm not gonna let this slide. She literally just stares at him. She doesn't say a single word before the scene fades to black. She just stares. Say something. And straight up, good thing it's going south for this relationship. Otherwise, the Sean Flynn guest star appearance would be pretty dang awkward. Back in Zoe's room, Quinn and Lola tell Zoe that she's in I love you shock, and that they read about it on this website, highschoolcrazy.com.
I read about it on highschoolcrazy.com.
Which supposedly used to redirect to iCarly.com, but they stopped paying for the URL, and now it takes you to a very different kind of website, shall we say. If you care about your computer's health and well-being, don't go to highschoolcrazy.com. Cut to Michael, who's learning to drive stick shift with the mysterious Asian instructor who tells him to mix the tuna. And this is a pretty weird B-plot. Clearly, it's a reference to Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand.
Up, down, over, up.
But why though? Back with Logan and Quinn, they both agree to pick each other's dates for prom so that neither one of them is offended by who the other one chooses. Fair enough, I guess. Cut back to Michael, who has successfully learned to drive a stick shift through the power of stomp the grapes and stir the tuna. And I honestly love the Karate Kid. I genuinely do. But I'm also just a little confused why they chose to make Michael's last ever plotline in this entire series a prolonged reference to an 80s movie. That's all it is. Cut to Lola, who's wearing a Team LaFoot shirt. Team LaFoot, the hell is that? Dan, I'm getting real tired of your bullshit, Dan. I'm sick of it. James walks over and a bitch on a Segway goes by in the background. Sick. He accuses Zoe of avoiding him, which she totally has been, and she gaslights the shit out of him, saying, nah, everything's fine. No shit. Another Segway. These kids at PCA be rolling around. Damn. And back with Logan and Quinn, she has already picked out Logan's prom date, Stacy Dilson, the cringy girl with the ear-grating lisp. Who could forget her?
Hey, Stacy.
Oh, Logan, hi.
He asks her to prom, and she is so excited, she basically throws her panties at him, and Logan is thoroughly disgusted. And as payback, he tells Quinn she has to ask Dustin to the prom, Zoe's younger brother. Back in her room, Zoe throws darts at the wall, and I really thought for a second she was going to be throwing them at a picture of James's face for some reason. Not Chase then comes into the room and says, hey, and Zoe clearly hates his ass, and she doesn't even crack a smile.
Finish your homework?
Homework?
And I can see why. What are you, her dad? He tells her that it seems like things have changed ever since he gave her the I love you necklace. And she apologizes and admits she doesn't feel the same way. He says it's okay and tells her not to feel bad. They then break up with zero drama, and James is too mature about it at this point. It honestly feels highly unrealistic for how a teenage boy would actually react to a breakup. Lola questions why Quinn is going to the prom with Dustin, and that's a good goddamn question. It's weird as hell. Why did Quinn think that this would be easier to explain to people than just going with Logan? Lola's going to prom with Vince Blake, you know, the football guy who beat up all of her closest friends back in season 3.
They just hit you guys?
Hit.
Punched. Kicked.
It was a medley of pain.
Kind of a weird choice. And I will quickly point out that Victoria Justice was only 15 here, and the actor playing Vince was goddamn 22. That is a 7-year age gap. Nice one, Dan. The other girls try to convince Zoe to come to prom, but she's throwing a little pity party for herself over the breakup and says she's not going. Logan and Quinn meet up with their fake dates, and everyone heads to prom. But Quinn gets bored and decides to do a little domestic terrorism on the way.
I could have gotten a date if I wanted.
Who?
Had that kid taken one more step forward, he would have been blown to bits. His leg would have been blown straight off at the very least. That is terrorism. Everyone at PCA is in danger. Quinn's out here casually strolling around with weapons of warfare on hand, and she's not afraid to use them even just for a quick laugh. Unacceptable. Michael drives Lisa to prom in his stick shift and says he owes it all to Mr. Takado. Lisa says she's never heard of that teacher, and Michael explains it's because he teaches the middle school schoolers. Lisa then asks Dustin if he's heard of Mr. Takado, and he says, I don't know who the hell that is. Quinn then assaults Dustin, leaving him unconscious in the streets, continuing her reign of terror over the PCA student body. Logan and Quinn ditch their fake dates to argue with each other about how they wish they just could be together already, but they're still scared of everyone finding out. And once again, there is so much build up to this reveal, and I'm really curious how Michael, Zoe, and Lola are gonna react once they finally know the truth. Back at the dorms, Zoe is approached by a random student, Jeremiah, who realizes she doesn't have a date and offers point blank to ditch his own date and go with Zoe. She tells him to fuck off. Good for her. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is I think it's weird how Dan Schneider makes it the canon of the Zoey 101 universe that Zoe is the hottest, most desirable girl of all time. No shade to Jamie Lynn. I mean, she was a minor here, but she's not that different than all the other random girls. To justify every male at PCA treating her this way. Cut to Lola and Vince in a cab on the way to prom. And can you guess who their cab driver is? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Schmarcicist, who loves to put himself in his own shows. Yep, that's right. Bigfoot Dan Schneider himself. So cab driver Dan freaks out. He crashes out and has a meltdown and quits his job on the spot, pulling the cab over and throwing the keys into the woods, leaving Lola and Vince stranded without a ride. Cut to prom, and there's a giant sign in the back that says the theme of the prom is Jungle Fever. There's no way Dan didn't know that that's a reference to something else, right? Also, the band that's playing is a fake band from that one iCarly episode, I Am Your Biggest Fan. Which only aired about 3.5 months prior to Chasing Zoey, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Quinn and Logan are both having a terrible time with their fake dates, and Lisa tells Michael that Mr. Takado just doesn't exist. Mark Del Figolo also shows up and says him and his girlfriend broke up, which is interesting. It seems like they're setting up a way for him and Quinn to get back together, or is it just a random piece of lore for no reason? Lola and Vince then run through the woods and eventually run into the nerds who were victims of Quinn's terrorist attack earlier. They were hiding in the woods out of fear for their lives, thinking the world was ending, which is understandable, I gotta be honest. Everyone heads back to the prom, and we're headed toward a real big juicy ending. I can feel it. However, I can't help but notice 10 minutes left in the episode and still no Chase. But right on cue, Zoe gets a call from who else? Chase. He asks her why she isn't at prom, and she says she blew it off because she didn't really want to go by herself.
Then turn around.
Ugh, seeing him in the flesh just makes my skin tingle in ways I can't explain. And fun fact, Chase actually no longer had his signature bushy hair in real life at this point, so he's actually wearing a wig in these scenes. Chase falls off the balcony staircase thing while trying to wave to Zoe. Classic. And Zoe runs over to check on him. She looks at him and says his arm's bleeding just before leaning in for a wet one. And I have to point out that this detail made me tear up a little bit because these are actually the first words Zoe ever spoke to Chase in the season 1 pilot.
I think your arm's bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
Your arm's bleeding.
And after 4 long seasons, we get the moment we finally deserve, and they take a one-way trip to Smooch City. Love is in the air. I'm feeling it. We waited for this since episode 1, and it's a great payoff. And speaking of big payoffs, Logan has had enough of Stacy Dilson, and finally, he can't take it anymore, and he confesses his love for Quinn once and for all. But hang on. Wait a second. Zoe is with Chase. They're alone making out. We just saw that Lola is trapped in the woods, and Michael is in the parking lot with Mark Del Figolo showing him his new stick shift. Not a single goddamn relevant person is here. That's it. That's the big moment. They finally announce their love for each other, but only to all the background characters? None of the people in the scene even have a name besides for Stacy Dilson and Dustin. We don't get to see a single one of their actual friends' reactions. They've had this secret relationship for the entire 4th season, and they constantly brought up their fear of revealing it to the friend group. And this is the scene we get. Nobody even finds out. Stacy is, of course, devastated and runs off crying right as Michael and Mark start driving the car, and they crash right into her. When she wakes up, her lisp is completely gone.
What struck me?
And this poor character has been nothing but the butt of the joke for the entire run of the show. So it's honestly kind of nice to see her have one small moment of something good happening to her. Good for you, Stacy. I also just have to point out that there are more main characters here for this moment of Stacy curing her lisp than there was for the Quinn-Logan reveal. Chase is here, Zoey, Michael, everyone gets to see the big no more lisp reveal, and I'm goddamn pissed. Michael is stoked to see Chase, and Zoey immediately makes it about herself by saying, OMG, don't break my boyfriend. Then she says, okay, let's all go dance at prom. And I sure hope James isn't there, because if he sees her with Chase 24 hours after breaking up with him, that's kind of brutal. One of the last scenes of the entire show is Michael running into Mr. Toccato. The racist background music is back, and Michael says to him, will you please come show my friends that you exist? And Mr. Toccato says, I can't do that, Michael, because I don't exist. And what? I don't know what to even say about that. Mr. Miyagi does exist in The Karate Kid, so this isn't even a parody anymore. It's just weird as hell. Lola finally makes it to prom, and she's super excited to see Chase. And still, nobody talks to Logan or Quinn or acknowledges their no longer secret relationship. They both straight up don't have a single speaking line to anyone in the friend group after their big speech that no one was there to see. And that's it. Fade to black. So, we get a satisfying payoff with Zoey and Chase, I guess, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's pretty minimal after 4 seasons of hype up and him crushing on her since the literal pilot of the show, but sure, I'll take it. But the way the Logan and Quinn plotline is discarded? Unacceptable. Look, it makes no sense to hype up Logan and Quinn's relationship to such an extent that their final plot in the series involves them trying to hide their relationship and then just end it with such a dud. The audience already knew they were dating, so it wasn't a reveal to us, and it's not like I get a sick kick out of just hearing Logan and Quinn call each other a couple either. I wanted to see their friends react to the big news. Trash, bro. Trash. And that's it. That's Zoey 101. And honestly, yeah, the ending wasn't anything special, but was it really the worst ever? I mean, wait, hold on. Yep, okay, yeah. The problem is, the show didn't just end there. Turns out, there was one final 23-minute episode that aired on Nickelodeon directly after Chasing Zoey back in 2008. Could this be the wrap-up I've been craving? Will Chase get to tell Zoey all about his time in the UK? Will Logan and Quinn finally get to tell their main friend group they're dating? Will anyone acknowledge James at all, who hasn't been seen whatsoever since the breakup scene? No, it's a clip show. It's a fucking clip show! PCA Confidential aired directly after Chasing Zoey as the true final episode to the series. And my god, why did they even release this, let alone produce it in the first place? Before the episode even begins, the title sequence has already stopped me in my tracks. Not only was Austin Butler, who played James, instantly removed from the opening title sequence, but Sean Flynn's name was added in place of Austin's. But they didn't add any clips of Chase to the intro. So it's just clips of the girls with Sean Flynn's name up there, and it's bizarre. Also, did James wander off of school grounds and get hit by a bus? He was friends with Zoey's friends and the guys too. There's literally a scene in Chasing Zoey where James is hanging out with Lola and Quinn without Zoey. So why is he instantly irrelevant as soon as Zoey breaks up with him? The entire episode is a clip show based around Zoey, Chase, and Stacy Dilson answering the questions of prospective students. And literally, right off the bat, as soon as the episode starts, Stacy has her list back.
Stacy Dipson. Dilton.
despite her lisp going away after she got hit by the car in the previous episode. These episodes literally aired back to back on national television, and you're telling me Dan and his groupies couldn't be bothered to follow their own continuity set just 10 minutes prior. Ridiculous. Also, I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke or a big FU to the audience, but clip shows can be seen on the whiteboard the entire episode as an extracurricular. What does that even mean? Clip show episodes are pointless in general. They're filler, they're skips, and it doesn't make a lick of goddamn sense to have that type of episode be a series finale. Even for a clip show, it somehow manages to be the worst clip show I've ever seen in my life. The clips they choose are so rapidly and haphazardly spliced together, most of the clips have the build up to the punchline actually removed and only show the punchline of a joke. And without the build up, most of the clips showcased aren't funny or even comprehensible. And some of the questions asked by the prospective students to prompt the clips sound extremely unnatural when said out loud.
Do the guys and girls get along pretty well here?
What do you mean, do guys and girls get along pretty well here? I would hope so. I also, for one, think it's unacceptable that they dedicated an entire section of clips to Chase's hair being called bushy.
I noticed that your hair's really bushy. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff we're working with here. Also,
Does PCA have a dress code? No, you can wear pretty much whatever you want.
that's goddamn wild, Zoe. What do you mean there's no dress code?
I read a few blogs by some PCA students, and some of them talk about weird stuff that goes on here.
And I can guarantee you that girl read one of Quinn's blog posts, because Quinn has been making blog posts since season 1, episode 8.
I'm so excited that I have a date with Mark. I'm gonna go post it on my blog.
There's literally a clip from Chasing Zoey in this part of the clip show. Really good if you want to reminisce about content that aired 10 minutes ago, and them showing that clip proves this takes place after the events of Chasing Zoey. So why does Stacy still have her lisp? Quick sidebar, I distinctly remember Stacy getting hit by a second car shortly after losing her lisp, and the second impact causing the lisp to return. Then Stacy ran off crying. I spent so long trying to find the original broadcast of this episode to see if the streaming version cut this scene or if it never existed at all, but I have a feeling that Stacy gaining her lisp back in the episode after Chasing Zoey could maybe have been what gave me that false memory. I'm not sure. The clip show ends with the group being dismissed without anyone asking Stacy a single question, and that's it. That's the true finale of Zoey 101, and that shit's unacceptable, quite frankly. 4 seasons of build-up. I've been waiting 4 grueling seasons for Chase and Zoey to finally get together, and once they actually do, there's only 8 minutes left in the episode. Logan and Quinn don't even get to verbally react to Chase being home, and him and Zoey literally share 3, maybe 4 sentences with each other the whole episode. I saw somewhere online that Sean Flynn stepped away from the show to actually go to real school, and all of James and Zoe's plot lines in season 4 were originally meant to be for Chase and Zoey, and I can't fault the writing team for that. But what I can fault them for is doing a horrible job by working within the amount of time they did have Sean Flynn to film. I personally would have had Chase pop up near the beginning of the episode, causing Zoey to have doubts about James. That way, we would have seen more than 5 minutes of Zoey and Chase on screen together. And to not just end it all there, but to waste another half hour of my life with a disgraceful, good-for-nothing, lore-breaking clip show is just pure evil. And I'll never forgive Dan Schneider or his henchmen for this one. But even after all that ranting, all of those strong emotions I just poured out, I can still say Chasing Zoey is worth a rewatch, despite its many glaring flaws. I still had a great time, but I'm sure that's just the nostalgia talking. Well, enough of me yapping. What do you guys think? Do you agree that this is one of the worst finales of all time? Or do you think I'm being a crazy lunatic and a bit harsh? Let me know down in the comments, and let's kick it. Also, if you watch this long into the video, why not subscribe or check out my other videos? And of course, without fail, I have to give a massive, sensual, erotic, lustful, dirty shout out to the channel members and Patreon members. You guys keep my blood pumping. You guys keep me alive. You guys help me keep the lights on at night. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope everyone enjoyed the video. All right, thanks for listening.